At the age of 15, Roxanne Thyera disappeared in November 1994 from Prince George, British Columbia. Her body was found near Burns Lake, off of Highway 16. Age 16, Ramona Wilson was hitchhiking to a friend's home in Smithers, British Columbia, on June 11, 1994. Her remains were found in April 1995, near the Smithers, BC airport, along Highway 16. Age 16, Delphine Nicol disappeared on June 14, 1990. She was hitchhiking between Smithers, British Columbia, and her home in Telkwa, British Columbia along Highway 16. Nicole Hoare was from Alberta and working in the Prince George, British Columbia, area as a tree planter. She was last seen hitchhiking from Prince George to Smithers. Nicole was 25 years old at the time of her disappearance on June 21, 2002 along Highway 16. Ayla Sarek Auger was 14 years old and a student at DP Todd Secondary School in Prince George, British Columbia. She was last seen by her family on February 2, 2006. Her body was found on February 10, 2006, in a ditch along Highway 16. Highway 16 is situated in a secluded stretch of the Yellowhead Highway, carving its way through northern British Columbia, stretching from Prince Rupert on BC's coast to Prince George, BC's interior. Travel west from Terrace along Highway 16 and connect with Talden and Tsimshian cultures. This route takes you through the town of Smithers, glaciated valleys, and mountain ranges, to the edge of Canada's Pacific Northwest at the port town of Prince Rupert, a gateway to wilderness adventure. Hitchhiking became a popular way for people to travel Highway 16. You would often see young adults and teens with a thumb out. Until just a few years ago, there was inadequate public transportation along the remote corridor of BC's dense forest. Thumbing it was very common. During the late 1980s to the early 2000s, and still today, many young Aboriginal women in northern British Columbia have gone missing or were found murdered along the 724-kilometer length of Highway 16. This lonely corner of Canada's north is known, today, as the Highway of Tears. In 1981, about 40 Canadian RCMP attended a conference focused at investigating the rising reports of missing and murdered along the stretch of the secluded Northern Highway. The numbers are not quite known, and some disagree with one another, of how many cases there might be connected to the span of what has become a dangerous highway. Families and friends of missing and/or murdered victims along Highway 16 have continually brought awareness to this puzzling possible serial killer tale, holding vigils, organizing walks like one that had over 500 participants walk the route from Prince Rupert to Prince George. Most victims are young women of Aboriginal culture. Aboriginal women and girls make up about 4% of the total female population of Canada, but very sadly, they make up 16% of all female homicides.
I don't know what you have to do to be taken serious. I think the only time you're taken seriously is when someone is murdered.
We'd always heard about things on TV, but never really realizing how that would impact us until it happened to our family.
It's our Aboriginal communities that have been searching for our own and really trying to, get some justice.
I've had to hitchhike myself, and it was because I had no money, right? You wouldn't put yourself in a position of danger if you had money.
It can't be a secret. We have to talk about it.
If a young woman is feeling victimized, who is she going to trust to go to?
I don't think that First Nations in general think that the RCMP are someone that they can go to for help.
So who do we trust, from the police to the judges to the bullshit?
It doesn't just affect the family, it affects the whole community. And from there it affects, there's people all over the world that it is affecting.
Well, there's going to be a day that I hope not very long down the road where all women will be protected, all women will be safe.
She was a mother and my sister, and she was my best friend, and yeah, we just really miss her, and I still miss her,
In October 1969, Gloria Moody, a 26-year-old mother of two and a member of the Bella Coola Indian Reserve of the Nuxalk Nation, was found dead along the Highway of Tears. Since then, 50 years have passed and this list of missing sisters continues to grow. Michelin Pear's body was recovered by berry pickers in Hudson's Hope, 21 kilometers from where she was last seen, on August 8, 1970. She had been beaten to death with a blunt weapon. Her murder remains unsolved. Shelley Basque was 16 years old when she disappeared from Hinton, Alberta. She was last seen by witnesses on May 3, 1983 near Highway 16. Tamara Chipman was 22 years old when she disappeared on September 21, 2005. She was last seen hitchhiking on Highway 16 near the Prince Rupert, British Columbia, Industrial Park. Tamara's home community was Morristown First Nation. Gail Ways, a 19-year-old from Clearwater, British Columbia, was last seen hitchhiking in October 1973. Her remains were found in April 1974. The RCMP had a suspect in her death, but no conclusive evidence existed to convict him. A 2012 Human Rights Watch investigation and report titled, "Those Who Take Us Away," reveals a deep distrust of the police amongst Indigenous peoples in northern British Columbia, due to experiences of discrimination and abuse. According to some families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, the police had assumed that many of the women were drunk, prostitutes, or had consented to sex before their disappearance or murder. As a result, they argue, these women were ignored by police and essentially blamed for their own murder or disappearance. The legacy of violence against First Nations women and children dates back to the early 1600s when Matoka, a young girl of 11 or 12, was kidnapped from her tribe and taken to England. You may know her as Pocahontas, but she is commonly considered the first missing and murdered Indigenous woman.